game.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, if anyone's actually tried something like this or just stumbled upon it, let us know. That'd be great. Did you watch a UFC Invitational?
Yeah, I did.
Can we talk about it?
We can. I watched the entire thing.
What do you think?
About which one?
So the whole of the event as a whole.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm getting at is we have a problem in Jiu-Jitsu.
So I'm not a big, I'll just say this, I'm going to get a lot of shit. I'm not a huge fan of the EBI rule set with people because I've seen people stall for overtime. And that's the biggest thing I have. I don't have a problem.
Biggest exploit of that rule set.
That to me, anyway. And I saw a lot of that, it seemed.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people, you're not going to get any shit because a lot of people are voicing that opinion.
That's the one thing. So tell me your...
So I agree. I do. So I like the EBI rule set.
Yeah.
If people didn't try exploiting it.
Right. Of course. So, yeah. That's a better way to say it.
And I went back and watched original EBI tournaments with Eddie Cummings and Gary Tonin and Gordon Ryan before they were real popular. And not just those guys, but all the competitors are out to going for the kill whole time because they didn't want someone to start on their back. They didn't want to get to overtime.
Right.
So instead, what happened over a couple of year period was you started getting specialists in
the EBI
positions of back and spiderweb or having like an arm bar.
Yeah.
So as long as they could stay safe in regulation, get out positioned, what doesn't matter, as long as they stay safe, they make it to OT, then they're successful.
Exactly.
And Eddie Bravo, in that tournament system, they tried incentivizing the regular time by if you win without going to overtime, you get $1,000.
Right.
I think that's good. That's a piece of the puzzle. But so many matches were so boring.
Yeah.
It was brutal at times, especially the main event, Craig Jones versus
even with the get down rule. I
like the get down.
I do too. But what happened is they go right back up to their feet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It effectively made it so they had the get down rule, which is if nothing's happening standing, they make them go to the ground in a butterfly guard. And they did that probably 6-7 times. And every time, both guys basically stood up immediately.
Yeah, I know.
And then the clock runs again for the get down, which is a minute. But there has to be, I think there needs to be some sort of negative or penalty system that has meaning to it.
I know. Take
money away from them. Yeah. Or...
I don't know if you should take money away from.
Well, I mean, that's what I think of pride is if you get a yellow card, I think I see
what you're saying.
That's like a warning.
So you're like a stalling warning.
Yes.
Okay.
But that second yellow card, make it mean something.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the only way. But
well, you know what? But it's a good idea. Now I'm thinking about it when you said that. If they're saying, look, you got a second yellow here, one more, you're getting money taken away.
Sure.
I think it's very much like here's my analogy. Over the last, couple years, there's been a lot of censoring. And because of that, you've seen a lot of self-censoring. Right?
Yeah.
Because they don't want to get demonetized or whatever, like on YouTube. Right. Exactly. We do. We self-censor to an extent. Then I think people would be so cognizant of this warning so that they wouldn't even want to get close to it to have their money taken away. So I think they would self-correct.
Yeah.
I think.
You'd hope.
You would hope, yeah.
And I think also, so I have to have some sort of negative penalty system, I think is one. Also, if there is a get down rule, like there has to be even a penalty, I think, for getting right up. Like there has to be some sort of, whether it's incentive or penalty for, okay, we're penalizing you guys for not doing anything in the stand-up. Now we're putting you on the ground to do jiu-jitsu. And then you guys don't do jiu-jitsu, you just stand back. Like there has to be something.
I think you could, incentivizing usually works better.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind also if EBI overtime didn't come into effect unless it was a tie. Now, obviously that means you'd be putting some sort of point system in place, which, I shit on the IBGF, not necessarily because of their point system, but it's because of more so how the place is run and stuff like that. And like rules like the out of bounds rule and how they enforce that.
Yeah.
If you took off that stuff, I think the point system that they have isn't that bad. Now, some of the rules I think should be adjusted for sure.
No, I like it because it rewards dominant positions.
And it can create an urgency when someone's about to pass or in a potential submission or something like that. Now, IBGF point system gets abused as well, and we've seen that plenty of times.
Right.
And it's not perfect by any means. People playing for just advantages. It's the same thing as EBI. They're like, well, if I get this, then I'm going to stall out for the rest of the match. So if I get up an advantage, I'm going to just stall out in 50-50 or 50-50 lapel or whatever it is until the match ends or they're strategically playing that. So then the last 30 seconds, boom. And IBGF has tried to adjust that, like with some rule changes in the last couple of years, which is good. But I think there definitely needs to be some sort of change because all these rule sets, whether it's ADCC, and I think ADCC has some good stuff, but at the same time, it favors the wrestling side so much where we just get a lot of bad wrestling matches because if someone scores 2 points in ADCC, it's a big deal.
Oh, it's huge.
Because getting a takedown in ADCC is super hard because they don't score it when the hips hit the mat and you're like being held for 3 seconds. Like that's 75% of your body needs to be pinned to the ground with control. So that's
tough, man.
Yeah, that's tough to score. So we end up having these really slow scoring matches, wrestling heavy. We like watching stand up, but unfortunately, for the most part, jiu-jitsu people don't do good. It's not, there's not the pace incentive that when you watch like freestyle wrestling, like if they backstep, they'll get a penalty. If they backstep. So all we do as jiu-jitsu people, typically at the highest levels, is they do these hand fightings and straight arms and
head ties.
Yeah, exactly. Heavy collar ties but there's no, and it's single shots. Yep. So go for a shitty double, maybe a quick single or something like that.
They're not chaining their shots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I get it. They got to work on so many other things, right? So I get it. But it makes for really, really boring matches. Well, and really frustrating tournaments.
I think what was interesting is you saw that the elite wrestler.
What, Nicky Rod?
No, what was the guy's name?
In the tournament?
Yeah, dang it. Yeah, oh, man, people are going to...
What are you talking about, RBY?
RBY.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that guy he's known. His thing was scrambles.
Right.
In the wrestling world. Penn State wrestler.
Yeah.
Insanely high level. That was a boring as shit match.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And he was, I don't know the guy he was going against, but it was a jiu-jitsu guy with decent wrestling.
Yeah.
And there was flashes, 5-second flashes of fun competition.
That's my point. You have an elite wrestler.
Right.
And it was still kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we have a legit issue for sure.
And we should table that because that's a really good conversation.
And I get Eddie, and that's another thing. Eddie kept saying on the commentary, he's like, man, this is better than having a ref decision, right? It's like, yeah, Eddie, sure, if it had to go to a ref decision, but if we had some sort of point structure and take advantages out, that's fine. I don't care. Have something where there's an incentive for guys to get into good positions or go for submissions or whatever. but then also have negatives for when obviously they're stalling. Yeah. Have EBI. I think EBI overtime has benefits and it creates drama.
Yeah.
But I don't think it has to be after every.
Well, it's turned into that.
Yes.
Where now, that should be something like, oh crap, that's close as shit. We're tied up. Yeah. Now we got to go to the EBI.
You see guys get their ass kicked for 7 to 10 minutes.
And then escape quicker.
And then they win in EBI overtime because that's all they practice.
Yeah, which I'm not shitting on, but.
I am.
No, but as far as getting that skill developed, it's cool.
Sure.
But I'm just saying that as a whole, it's crappy.
Yeah, and I get it. People want to win money. They're out there to win the tournament, but dang.
There's got to be some kind of hybrid system that.
Well, I think it takes people to commit to it, and it takes people to be willing to change and listen and also be like just honest with themselves to like. That almost every match was not super fun to watch.
I wonder if it's not a bad idea to pull together a bunch of people from a bunch of different grappling disciplines, get them in a conference and open source this thing.
Yeah.
And kind of like...
Well, that's the thing. Ego's got to go away. Right.
When you have someone you have some moderators and all of that, right? And
because IBGF does something kind of like that, but for some reason they're just they're like the government. They're so slow to make changes, and
there's also
who knows why.
Yeah, but there's also that historical kind of thing. It's hard to let go of some things, right? And so I think getting people that are still like minded and the people that would be going to something like this would know that there's a problem.
Yeah,
know that there needs to be some changes. Yeah. Not to go there and just try to defend your system. Yeah. Right. That's not what
And I think unfortunately that's kind of what happens, whether it's Eddie on EBI, whether it's Mo Jassam with ADCC, whether it's IBJJF people that just think that that's the best rule set ever. It's like
open sourcing something and coming together and then trying to tear it down.
Yeah.
That's how good stuff happens.
I know AJP has a kind of a hybrid where shorter matches for black, so 6 minutes. And they are pretty aggressive on stall calls and negatives and stuff like that. I don't remember if they have advantages or not, but they have a little bit of a hybrid system that's pretty good. Same with Copa Podio. They have a little bit of a hybrid system, but it's going to take a community to really.
That's what I'm saying, and that's easier said than done because of the reasons you stated. But
yeah, if anybody,
that's what needs to happen.
I want to know what people think. Like, what do they think the best rule set is? Yeah. But how can they improve on that rule set?
Not only what they think the best one is, but what would be if you had some, what would be your optimum rule set? Just throw a bunch of them out there.
Right.
Because I think, and then beta test them. Mm-hmm. Right. And see, was that a shitty thing to watch or was it pretty entertaining?
Yeah. Because there's parts of the ADCC rule set that I actually think are really good.
There's a bunch of good stuff from a bunch of different places.
And like, because they'll score body triangle as points.
Yeah.
That's good. IBGF, why don't you do that? Yeah. Right. And then you have, but then like ACC, like I said, in some scoring positions are just insane to try to figure out like how did they not score there? Stuff like not being able to talk to the ref is like silly. Right? Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot, and I think it's going to have to be as a community to kind of come together on that.
Yeah. I can't, there's some upsets at the UFC Invitational. Hasim Rita got knocked out